Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to some ass. I am Adam,
And I'm Steve.
and we are Adam Steve Show. We are here to talk to you about the movies that are out. And we're playing a little bit of catch up here, so we're going to dive right into it with one of the biggest movies of the year so far. We have one of Steve's, actually, your first, the movie chronologically in the ass anticipation game, Mean Girls. How did you feel about it?
So I finally watched it, and it lived up to everyone's reviews that I saw before I watched it, just about. It is just
Mm.
looking at you while it's still trying to be a movie a little bit, but it's staring right down the lens of that camera, right at you to tell you, remember that movie that you saw 15 years ago or whatever it's been now? That was pretty funny then, wasn't it? Let's just do it again, but like barely change anything, but also have the songs weren't the worst thing I've ever heard, I'll be honest. Do I remember any of them after watching it a week ago, I think today? Not a single one. Cannot recall anything. The only thing I will say is that the girl who played Moana, who played like the girl, like the main girlfriend.
Janice Ian.
Yeah, she was good and I liked the Damien guy, but other than that, like everyone else is kind of like I mean Renee Rapp was good as but she's also just like also always good from what I hear. She's It's the first time I know about her, but people really, really love her. So, but like the girl that played Caddy, like I've seen her in other stuff, like she was in Spider-Man Homecoming and stuff, but she's very forgettable.
Hmm.
Like
I
I don't
would
know.
like to echo what you said about Damien. I really like him a lot. I didn't like anyone else. But yeah, specifically when you brought up the girl from Spider-Man Home, she's in all of those.
Hmm.
Betty Brant is, I
Yeah.
think, her character's name. And yeah, I thought she was extremely underwhelming. I mean, it's just hard for me because not only is this a movie I've loved for years and seen like probably like a dozen or so times in my life, but it was one that like hit a special chord for me. I remember I used to take trips with my sister to go visit our cousins, and they were like our age, and they were my sister and he's a little older than me, right? So I have a lot of female influences from my sister when it comes to art. Like I grew up watching Hannah Montana and stuff. And so we decided the movie the night we were going to watch was Mean Girls. And I'm like a 12-year-old like boy, and this is pink and oh, that's girl stuff. Ew. And I watched the movie and it was fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And I loved it so much. And so, like it's even better in my eyes because I'm like, you're telling me I'm not the target demographic and I still loved it? Wow, this must be truly the greatest or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and honestly, I can echo a lot of that too because I grew up in an all-male household, all older brothers, but we actually had this movie in like 2005, and at that time I was 9 years old, and I loved it then. Like it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. So when this new one came out, although I wasn't like overly like excited about it, I never saw the stage play, which honestly, after watching this, I kind of would like to see it just to compare the two, but I was very excited just to get this story again, even if anything, because I still go back and rewatch that movie over and over again. So I figured they couldn't really ruin it, but they kind of did by not even trying to do anything in a way. Like the songs are the only really new thing about it, but I guess if you watch the Broadway show, that a lot of these songs were probably in that too. So there's nothing really new here, and it's kind of just a literal cash grab where a lot of people are so mad at Hollywood right now. That's kind of what this one was, unfortunately, and it didn't really even do that well, did it?
I think it did for this kind of a thing. I think I also learned this was supposed to be a straight to Paramount Plus type of beat, which definitely like makes sense now, like given the quality of the film and the budget. I think the budget's super low, like 30 million. And I think it did make like 60. Actually, I will look it up right now.
Well, and even the
But yeah, because this
style,
matters for the game.
yeah, even the stylized moments were like when they did it, like they changed the aspect ratio and stuff. Like it felt very much like it was made for a streaming audience in a way, or for younger people for sure, obviously, with the stuff they were doing, but I feel like it was definitely like, hey, this could be clipped out on TikTok like some movies are done with these days, and it would just fit there, unfortunately. And I mean, it's a style, and I like it for taking a chance there, but at the same time, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't the style I was looking for, I guess.
I have the information here. With a $36 million budget, Mean Girls opened with 28 million in the US, and with totaling out at 72 million. So unfortunately, Mean Girls will not count for your score, which the Rotten Tomato score is 70 from audiences. And let me see. 70 from audiences and 62 from, oh, sorry, 70 from critics and 62 from audiences, and a worldwide gross of 104 million. So it was a success. I think it is an abject success. I mean, almost like tripled its budget. But I really like what you said about earlier. Like, I think it was like the first thing you said, where it's like the whole movie's just like asking you to remember that original movie, especially when they do all the cameos and everything like that. And it's just like, if I just watched Mean Girls last night and my review was kind of like, oh, I wanted to remember Mean Girls because I love Mean Girls so much. So I just went back and rewatched Mean Girls. And I didn't like watch a like spin-off like encore version of it, like where like someone with like a cover band. Like I didn't do that. I want the real deal because we can have the real deal. And you're right. Yes, the only new thing about this movie is the music, and I was really excited specifically because I love me a good villain song, right? And so I'm like, oh well, this has like the best villains. Like Regina George is like Sharpay Evans from High School Musical, and I regularly compare these characters to like Darth Vader, like Fabulous. That is Luke, I am your father, right there. You know what I mean? That is like an epic villain moment. Obviously, a very different context, but I was really excited about that, and so I was really underwhelmed with her numbers specifically. I think the only song that I like is Revenge Party. Do you remember that song now that I bring up the title?
Yeah, is that the one with the girl literally like in the party and she's like dancing
Yeah.
around like the what is her name? Oh,
Oh,
am I wrong?
the girl talk about like Halloween costumes are sexy.
Oh, I thought that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
No. That's a different. I think that one works as well,
Me too.
specifically because like she's awesome. But no, I'm talking about the revenge party. It's a party that ends with somebody's head on a spike. Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
revenge. Yeah, there you go. And it's when they just found out that Regina George is like with Aaron Samuels again, just to shove it in Katie's face. And so they
Yeah.
start plotting like how they're gonna get back at her. And I love that. It's like such life and it's so fun. And I remember I watched the press screening and I go home and I'm like writing my little review. This is how I write my little reviews. But I'm writing my little review and I'm all mad. And I was like, but I want to listen to the music so that I can, embed myself in the movie while I'm writing. But the movie wasn't out yet. So the only thing I had available to listen to was the stage recording of these songs. So
Hmm.
I'm listening to Revenge Party and I'm like, this is significantly better than the version that I listened to in the movie. Was I wrong? Oh my gosh. And then I realized, no, the stage production is just like an infinitely better version of the song. So now my TikTok algorithm has all these TikToks of like comparing like the movie where she's got that close-up shot where she's like, I can't even do it, but you know what I mean? I can't even watch when she touches his hair. And it like looks super odd, and they cut to like the stage production, and it's so much more lively, and there's so many more instruments, and it just works so much better. And so I realized I don't hate the stage production, I hate the movie version of the stage production. But just to try a knot on a bow on my argument here, I recently just went and saw Moulin Rouge. Have you ever seen Moulin Rouge?
Oh, the movie. Yeah, I haven't seen the stage play, even though it is coming through town soon.
Okay, well, I love the movie. I'm a big Boz guy. So Lauren gets me Moulin Rouge tickets, so we go to see it at Dr. Phillips Center. And I watched the show, and I remember saying to her right before it started, I was like, I'm a little afraid because, well, number one, I'd only seen Moulin Rouge once. Like, I love Boz, and that's his like flagship movie, but like, I can't quote the whole thing.
Yeah.
And second of all, I think the reason I love the movie so much is because the editing and the direction, and like the signature look that it has. So, that frenetic, like super fast, like sped up stuff and slow motion, like we're not going to get all that in the stage production. And it's like halftime. It's like the intermission of the show, and Lauren's in the bathroom, and I text my mom, and I'm like, how do I tell her that this is a perverted bastardization of the thing that I love? And I think that's just it. I just don't like when there's musical versions of movies that I like. I Mean Girls, now this, Color Purple was okay. I saw you got that recently.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, echoing a lot of what you're saying. I mean, there was even a moment in the beginning where they're doing the whole fetch thing. And it's literally like you're supposed to be in the auditorium, and when she says, "Oh, it's just something from a movie 20 years ago," you're all supposed to laugh, but like I just like it just hurt me so bad. And just sitting in my living room all by myself, I was just like internal cringe. I was just, ugh, it hurt, and I was just like, "This is if this is where this is going this for the next 90 minutes, then please, I don't want to be here." And unfortunately, that's what they delivered on. I'm actually looking forward to listening to the Broadway music part because I haven't done that yet. I might check it out on Spotify one of these days, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's just a bad movie. 2 out of 5 for me. I'm giving it a 2 because I didn't hate everything about it, but it's not anything I'm gonna rewatch again. I'm gonna rewatch the original.
Mm. Well, yeah, and then to draw another comparison to Moulin Rouge, what upset me so much about Moulin Rouge is the joke of Moulin Rouge. It's not funny. It's a very funny movie, but it's not funny because they were like, oh, tonight's gonna, like I'm really excited. I got a feeling that tonight's gonna be, and then everyone laughs because they're like, ah, I know that song. Like that's not the joke. The joke is these eccentric characters and the wacky scenario that they put themselves into, and they have to try to like continue the ruse, right? So I'm watching the play, the stage production, and everyone's laughing because they said "shut up and dance with me," and they started singing this song, and I'm like that's not what's funny about it. So it's like you completely don't understand what's so good about the movie, because you're like, and I even asked one, I'm like, do you think they liked the movie? But yeah, here's the same thing. It's like I remember even in that song that I like, Revenge Party, they're like doing the handing out the candy grams, right, or whatever for
Hmm.
the whatever bullshit, and they're like, oh. Glenn, two for you, Glenn Coco, and then the background singers go, Glenn Coco, Glenn Coco, Glenn Coco, and it's like, just in case you guys didn't hear, we said the Glenn Coco line. You guys love the Glenn Coco line, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do. Thanks. And so you're exact. I mean, even when you fucking said it, the joke, I was like already rolling my eyes. You know what I mean?
It's yeah, and I think I read somewhere too that they were trying to get Harry Styles to play Glenn Coco in the movie too, and I was like, that would have just made it. Although I love Harry Styles, I think he's a cool guy. I just that would have just made it even worse.
Yeah, it's just so much fan service. Like I brought my mom to the press screening, and that was important to me because I've been, I tell my parents about all this stuff, and I'm very proud. And so I was like, oh, I want to take you guys to one you'd be interested in. And so my mom goes, and keep my mom likes this type of stuff. She watched The Color Purple, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go again, take grandma to see it, so that she could, enjoy it too." And so after the movie, we're walking out of Mean Girls, and I fucking hated it. And my buddy Matt's working the event, so I know I have to go out that hall, and he's like the most positive guy in the world. And I have to look him in the middle of his like nice, happy eyes and just be like, "Yeah, I thought it was a turd." And I asked my mom about it, and she's like, "Well, I just wish it had more cameos." And I'm like, "Mom, you're the problem." You know what I mean? Like, you're the reason these movies suck. Because I ask her, I'm like, "Oh, so when you go home, are she's a big like I like to like add the songs to my like I like to listen to CDs and the musicals I like and stuff." So I'm like, "Oh, are you gonna add any of these songs to your Apple playlist?" And she's like, "Oh no." And I was like, "Oh, you gonna take grandma to go see this one too?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, so what did you like about it?" Because it's just the Mean Girls again. And the only thing that justifies this iteration's existence, besides the new cast, is the fact that it's a musical. So if you don't like any of the music, then what we're wasting our time, you
Yeah,
know?
just go watch the original and it'll be even better, honestly.
Yeah, so I'm just not a fan. Renee Rapp, she's just like moaning, like my like I'm sorry to
Like,
like in
granted, is she like a mean girl of today? Sure. I'm sure she probably fits into a lot of high school stereotypes. Unfortunately, neither of us are of that age anymore, so but it seems like this
Mhm.
is very much like a Gen Z type of trying to update it. But the I guess the other positive I will give it is that Tina Fey was back, and that was cool, but Tim Meadows is still just hilarious to me. I think him as the principal
Mm.
is just a perfect character for him, and anything Tim Meadows does, I'm down for it. But yeah, just watch the original one. It's touted as one of the best comedies of all time for a reason, and I get what they were trying to do here, but it just did not work. It would have worked better on streaming, I think, but even then, it's like it shouldn't exist.
And you brought up a good point with Tim Meadows and Tina Fey. I don't personally like that they brought him back, even though I think they're both really funny. But here's my thing. They fixed the original Mean Girls movie. Isn't that great? Because the whole entire time with Mean Girls, I'm like, oh, shouldn't the principal and the teacher, shouldn't they be dating? Shouldn't they be together? So thank God we got a pseudo sequel where we find out that one day they ended up getting together. And that makes me feel like it's like Jurassic World Dominion. It's like, oh guys, don't worry. Ellie Sattler and Sam Neill, or Alan Grant, whatever, they got together, guys. Don't you feel better now? Don't you feel okay? And it's like it's just so pandering. Like this, you think this is what we want? It's like I thought it was offensively bad. I gave it a 2 out of 5 just because like I think it is generally like fun. I think there was a quote where Renee Rapp was like, we're not trying to cure cancer or anything. We're just trying to have a fun time, and I think we accomplished that. And it's like I'm sorry, just because like I have like deep criticisms about your film. You can't just be like, yeah, we just wanted to have fun and that was it. So you can't touch us. And it's like, no, I still can complain and be
Yeah.
upset
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
I'm sure you all had fun making it. Making movies is fun. And singing and stuff
Mm.
like that and dancing around with your friends, it's a great time. But it doesn't mean that everyone had to enjoy you doing said stuff, because it was not that enjoyable. Like, I hated the fact that they literally were looking into the camera, like trying, whenever they referenced anything from the old movie. It's like, fucking stop it. I'm not in the movie with you. This isn't a stage play. This is a movie. And it's just like, that's the parts where I was like, this fits better as I'm watching it on a TV. Like, if I had been watching it in the movie theater, I would have been pissed.
Oh yeah, I saw it in a full movie theater. Everyone was like having a fucking ball with it. And yeah, I had someone tell me I was really upset because someone told me that I wasn't. I had several people actually tell me I'm not the target demographic for the Mean Girls musical, and that pissed me off. And I know I just said that one of my favorite things about the original is that I was like, oh well, I'm not the target demographic, so the fact that I still love it is so great. I think that the target demographic has shifted for this adaptation. It's for I understand I'm not in the age gender demographic for this movie. I understand that.
Hmm.
But this is clearly for fans of musicals and fans of the original movie, also me. So it's like this should be right up my alley. Like I was really excited going into this. And so the fact that like I'm not downloading any of the songs is just like such a summer bummer.
Yeah, it's exactly why, like, toward the end of our game when we were picking all of our movies, I was like, I'm gonna pick this one because, like you said, I like musicals, I like Mean Girls, so I had a general excitement for it because I had never got to see the play, obviously. So I was hoping it would be a fun, almost. I don't know if I would have liked it better if it would have just been a stage recording of that and they would have just aired that on Paramount Plus. That would have probably made me much happier.
Yeah, and it would have played a lot better and it would have had a lot more goodwill. I mean, clearly it's well reviewed and everyone I know really likes it. And I'm the fucking Grinch that's like, me, I didn't like it. But yeah, I think that's just the problem with the movie adaptation, like musical movies being turned to musicals. It's like, if you like the movie, you're going to be upset about all the things they changed. And if you don't like the movie, you still won't like the musical because you didn't like the movie. Why would you like the musical?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
a
2 out of 5, bad movie. I really vehemently like. I I know I do a bottom 10 list every year, but I think I want to do a most like disappointing list of the year, and like that's where I can put my Top Gun Mavericks and my Spider-Man No Way Homes, and stuff like this where it's like, okay, yeah, I did give it like a 2 out of 5, but I fucking hate this. You know what I mean?
exactly. And since we're on this train right now of just downward, why don't we just fucking spiral this thing all the way into the ground and talk about a movie that Sony released called Madam Web? Now, what are your thoughts on this? Because as you can tell by my tone, didn't have the best time watching it.
So, a little insight, the press screening for this movie was announced like a few days beforehand, and it was for Tuesday at I think it was 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock.
Ooh.
And I know. And I'm like, oh, they really don't want anyone to see this movie. Because the movie came out the next day too, like
Hmm.
24 hours like from now, it was gonna be in theaters. And yeah, so I go and I watched it, and I was alone. None of my friends were with me because I work a Thursday to Monday job, so it was perfect for me. And I hated it. I thought it was really terrible, and I do feel bad because I would have had a much better time if I would have watched it late night under the influence with my friends, like this movie is supposed to be consumed.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, Sony is on a track record right now, and I never thought I'd say it, but this is worse than Morbius. I just
Oh
could
yeah.
not, I could not get into any aspect of it. I mean, between even like simple things, like I like to try to look at any positives in a movie. Acting, Dakota Johnson obviously did not want to be there. It was quite obvious to everyone. Like, even now doing the press and shit, like she does not give a shit about this movie. And honestly, a lot of the girls that are playing teenagers that are well into their 20s did not really care to be there either. Like Sydney Sweeney trying to like act like this like tiny like little like shy little girl and stuff. She was genuinely trying to be an actress at least compared to Dakota Johnson, but like the best person in this movie, and it made me so sad that he was in there because I love him so much, is my man from Parks and Rec, Adam, what's his last name?
Scott.
Adam Scott. Yeah, I love the guy. And I was so sad that he was in this movie. And the fact that they were trying so hard to barely shoehorn in like the Spider-Man references too. Like if you weren't paying attention that close, it could easily like pass you by and you would not even realize it. If you didn't catch whose names were who. It's just so much shit in here that they genuinely just felt like a huge mess. And like cinematography, all the weird zoom arounds and shit, nothing in here was good.
Yeah, it was an awful, dreadful film. But we all knew this, right? We knew going into it. I mean, hey, neither of us even put it on our lists of things to consider when drafting anticipated movies of the year. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that it's worse than Morbius. Because the one thing I'll say about Morbius, I mean, I'll defend Jared Leto way more than your average Joe will. But the thing I'll say about Morbius is at least we Morbius looks like the character for a good amount of that movie. Like he's got the fangs and the whatever the fuck. I get it. But
Yeah.
this one, Madam Web, she's not in the costume till the very end of the movie, and we see like three glimpses of the girls in their costumes, and I mean glimpses. Like there's a vision, there's another vision, and then it's the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, there's barely any action in this movie. It's like you can barely even call it like a superhero movie. It's just like a very odd like action list drama. Like
It's like,
action-ish
yeah, like a
drama.
thriller. Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing, and I just want to point out when I say that they show up at the end in their costumes, I don't mean there's this cool climactic third act battle where they're all in their costumes.
Oh.
I mean like the last second of the film, they're standing there in their suits, like one day.
It is quite literally like one of the last frames of the movie and then it's over. Like it is bizarre how this was like why even call it Madam Web at this point? Like just call it something else. Like and I read somewhere that the original story for this movie, which fuck it, I don't think it's a spoiler, but whatever. It was literally that they were going to like it was like a time travel thing or like the because of all the Spider-Man stuff, all the timelines are fucked up and they were basically trying to protect Spider-Man from this villain because he was trying to kill Spider-Man before he was ever born or whatever. And that's what this whole group of girls was trying to do was they were going to try to protect his mom from getting killed by this guy. But apparently some rewrites
Mm.
happened and we got what we got and it just yeah, it's not fun. I mean, we got like the weird stuff in the beginning where like oh, we have to make this a 2000s movie, so we have to reference American Idol. Or I have to go home and watch Idol and shit like that. Like lines in here that just really just tear your soul out. And like, what's the one I wrote about? Hold on, I want to pull it up right now because it made me fucking die inside. When she goes into the cave at the end or whatever, if you take on the responsibility, great power will come. I wanted to like punch a hole in the wall when I heard that. Because I was like, they're just trying to say with great power comes great responsibility, but fucking just switching the words around. It's like, I hate
Hmm.
everything about this. There's no soul to it. I mean, quite literally what we were just talking about with Mean Girls. There's no soul to any of this. It's literally just them trying to grab that IP of Spider-Man and milk it for whatever it's worth at this point, because that's all Sony has, I guess. And it's unfortunate because they're doing stuff with their animation department that's some of the best animation we've seen in 20 plus years, in my opinion. And then we get stuff like this from them where they're fumbling the bag hard to the point where fucking Marvel's going to be able to, like, Disney's going to buy Spider-Man back with pennies on the dollar because it's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we're in this situation. Yeah, and I heard about the whole like it's supposed to be more of a Terminator type plot line. I just remember it makes me think like, oh, if you would have just been a little bit more buttoned up and just had like maybe you can't bring Toby back, but Andrew's expressed interest in maybe if you bring back Andrew or just have another like actor play Spider-Man or Tom Holland, whoever the fuck. Like if you throw some money at one of these actors, the fans will love it. They love No Way Home because they saw the people that they liked. So just do that again. I don't know. I mean, I don't want that. I don't want anything. I don't want this movie to exist. Because I'm really annoyed because when I was working on the trailer for this movie, I was like, I'm decently excited because at the end of the day, it's going to be a bunch of super powered people running around in silly costumes.
Hmm.
So the fact that no one was in a silly costume, and you know this thing called I think it's called Disney bounding. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, when people like dress with like the colors and whatnot, or try to make a whole thing out of going to Disney.
Yeah, because you can't dress up in a costume, so they'll be like, "Oh, let me like these are the Snow White colors on
Yeah.
my outfit." So you kind of get away with it. And that's what they did in this. They're all wearing the colors of their outfit, but they're not like wearing their outfit. And I don't know. And then another thing that bothered me about this movie is the sex appeal is like super weird. And this is one thing I just want to touch on in general with movies. Did you hear about this movie Miller's Girl?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't see that. It was Jenna Ortega,
And
and
Martin
she's
Freeman
like,
or whatever, yeah.
yeah, she like trying to seduce her teacher Martin Freeman, and that bothered me a lot because it was like trying to treat it like this erotic thriller. Like you're supposed to think that she's really sexy and cool as she's like trying to have sex with this teacher, and it's like no, she's not. And by the way, anybody who like watches this movie and is like getting super turned on by it, like I understand Jenna Ortega is like an adult, but like, ugh, I mean, and we just talked about Mean Girls. The one girl sings an entire song about how her boobs are big. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? These are adults that are playing high schoolers that are really focusing on the sexual aspects of these characters. And it's this super creepy, like borderline perverted thing. I don't really have a point. But like here with the marketing of Madam Web, not only are they marketing it like it's a superhero movie when it's not, they're
Yeah.
also marketing it like it's this sexy thing. Like Dakota Johnson's like, come on, we know what they were doing. She's like, you're gonna see it, and you're gonna see it twice because I'm telling you to. And I was in 50 Shades of Grey. And then we're on the red carpet. And Sydney Sweeney's in the movie. Period. So already we're trying to go for the sex appeal, and she's like, yeah, the one word I would use to describe it, hot. And it's like there's nothing sexy about this movie unless just the sight of Dakota Johnson just like in a jeans and a jacket is like enough to get you going, which she's an attractive actress, sure. But like if you're going to this movie for the sex appeal, I'm sorry, but this is not for you. Am I
Yes.
making any sense?
No, 100%. I mean, they're advertising them as children and then want to advertise sex appeal. It's like some backwards like Michael Bay Transformers type shit that you wouldn't think you'd be getting from a movie that's literally trying to also say female power being very like feminine heavy, trying to like show that although they're not very superhero-ish, they're still trying to be powerful women and whatnot and defeating this man and just a lot of other stuff going on where it's like you're going against what you're saying at the same time. It's very odd because yeah, there's nothing going for this movie that makes sense. It's a big
Hmm.
clusterfuck where unfortunately I think Sony had a lot to do with it. Because I mean, Sam Raimi will tell you on the third Spider-Man movie that I know you like, but a lot of people aren't the hugest fans of, including Sam Raimi himself, because the studio got involved so damn much. And Sony's notorious for that exact thing. And I feel like it probably had stuff to do with Jared Leto being in Morbius and stuff too, even though I feel like Jared Leto did a lot of weird shit on that one too. But I have a feeling that because that other story existed and whatnot, that Sony themselves probably had a lot to do with all these script changes and why this movie feels like such a jumbled mess. Because there's like good things in here that it feels like they were trying to go for at certain times and like their outfits and stuff. I mean, for costuming, even though we only see them for about 30 frames maybe, they look good. And it's interesting what they were kind of like building toward at the end. Like I would watch the follow-up to this movie, but I would never ever watch Madam Web ever again. I gave it a half a
Oh, you would
star.
watch a sequel?
I would watch a sequel that's actually a superhero movie for sure. But I don't want a sequel like this at all. Like if they did a complete 180 and fucking actually told a Madam, like if they told the story that they were originally going to tell, apparently, with the whole protecting Spider-Man and stuff, that sounds like a cool movie to me. I would like it, like you said, like a Terminator-esque movie, especially if they went darker with it a little bit, like Sony can because they're not Disney. I feel like it could be really cool, but what we got was a complete piece of trash. So yeah, half a star, not good. Don't watch it. Don't waste your money. If it's free on TV one day, give it a shot if you got 2 hours to waste, but you're not gonna have a great time with it.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, I do think, like I said, the first thing I said was like I didn't watch this in the correct way. I do think there are a lot of people who are enjoying the so bad that it's good element of this movie, and I think there's like because it is kind of funny. Like there's a scene on the subway when Dakota Johnson, like some guy is like, "Oh, hey, is this the train to Connecticut?" And she's like, "What? I don't know." Gee, I hope not. And then later on, he asks her again when she goes to another train, and she's like, "What? No, I don't know. Get it, whatever." It's
Yeah.
like that felt so natural. But yeah,
Yeah.
like it's funny how much she doesn't want to be there.
And that's the thing. It's like I've seen Dakota Johnson in other movies, like Bad Times at the El Royale, even in the 50 Shades of Grey movies. She's not a bad actress, but you can totally tell here that this was purely a paycheck for her. She did not read any comics. She does not care about this character of Cassandra Webb or whatever. She could not give a shit. She's just here to get through it, basically. Like her scenes with Adam Scott felt the most natural of anything because she was actually working with someone who also felt like they were at least giving their
Yeah.
best effort at certain moments. So, but yeah, overall, this is so lifeless. And yeah, she just made me sad.
Yeah, she's awful. If you like her, I recommend. Do you ever see Cha Cha Real Smooth?
Yeah, I love that movie. I forgot. Yeah, she's fantastic in that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I think the girl, it's funny because all of the girls, all three of the little girls, they have like Anyone But You is still in theaters for Sydney Sweeney. She's got Immaculate. She's got I think something else probably coming out soon. But the two other girls have Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, and the other one has Alien Romulus. So they
Yeah,
all
and
have
the
like more
the
chances,
other
you
girl
know?
was in Instant Family and she was Dora. So I mean, she's been in other
Isabella
shit too.
Merced.
Yeah, I loved her in Dora. I thought she was great in that. So I mean, she's been in other stuff and she's
Oh
proven that
yeah.
she's a good actress. But yeah, just everything about this movie. And I feel like she said something recently that was like, if you don't like this, you don't like women or something like that. And I was like, fuck off. I was like, this movie's horrible. I was like, do not use that argument because I am a firm believer that I love a lot of movies. I can find stuff to like in most movies. I try very hard, but this is one movie that it's like similar to that fucking movie that I hate so much and talk about fairly often, Slender Man. This is on that same level of I even drunk or stoned or whatever, I just don't think I could ever really enjoy this movie unless it was purely just, all right, let's fucking crack as many jokes as we can, because I would be still going after the movie's over because there's just so much material to go off of.
Yeah, you reminded me of Slenderman. I forgot it existed. This movie, yeah, the argument of like, oh, if you hate this movie, you hate women, is the same argument that like Sound of Freedom uses, where they're like, "Oh, if you hate this movie, that means you're a child molester."
Yeah.
And it's like it's a brilliant like troll argument. But yeah, no, it just reminds me of because like yeah, it is terrible, and it is funny because I did kind of compare it with the Marvels because you got this like little group of like female heroes coming together to do a thing, but like at least like the best part about that movie, if we remember correctly, was she wanted the one girl wanted to be Miss Marvel. She wanted to be there, so
Yeah.
bad. And she was having such a great time. And it was so infectious. And it made me want to be there, it made me have a good time. And so like, I don't know, I feel like Marvel has always done an awful job with their female superhero movies. I think the best female superhero movies are the DC ones. Like the DCEU, my top 3 or 4 favorite movies are all the female-led ones. Because I don't know what they're doing better over there, but yeah, no, Marvel with their female heroes, and they're not bad movies because they're female heroes. Like there's other things that just so happens to be that they have female leads, but like they're not all bad. I like the Marvels. I thought that was really cute. So if you are looking to support women in the superhero field, I would definitely more so turn your attention to the Marvels because I just showed that to Lauren recently. I didn't watch it all, but I was like sitting in, I was like, oh, it's cute and fun, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, like the cat scene with memories. Love that shit. There was nothing like that in this movie that even like is remotely memorable. There's nothing I even want to remember about it. It's just bad. So yeah, I don't have anything else to add there. Just half a star. Yeah, don't
Half a
support this
star.
movie in any way.
Yeah, I'll buy the Blu-ray. I do want you to know that from the bottom of my heart. Like I have a Morbius Blu-ray. I will be buying this Blu-ray.
If it's on sale, if it's like a really cool steelbook, I might, but that's the only
No, no,
way.
only if it's on sale. The last time I actually bought a movie that wasn't on sale, I had a Target gift card, and you're gonna really appreciate this.
Hell yeah. I
Yeah, I
still
was
need to get
like,
that.
fuck yeah, it's like 20 bucks. There's no digital copy, so that's kind of annoying. But I was like, I love this almost made my top 10 of that year. I really love this movie. Yeah, watch Weird Al if
Oh,
you do not want to watch Miss Marvel or Captain whatever Madam Web.
yes, absolutely support the Weird Al Yankovic story. It's just such a great, like, it's on the same level as, like, Walk Hard, as, like, a really funny, like, comedic biopic.
Hmm. And before we get into the real meat and potatoes of this episode, there's one more female-led little movie that came out that Steve watched that I did not watch. Would you like to try to pitch it a little bit?
So yeah, that movie, I saw it it's been about a month ago now, I want to say, with my parents, and that was Lisa Frankenstein. And for what it's worth, it was pretty enjoyable in my opinion. It wasn't anything that special or new. It's very much still like the Frankenstein story, but it's set in the 80s and this girl's like very much like the weird kind of like not necessarily goth, but kind of just like not popular kid. She's all by herself. She's like has like a step family now because I think her mom passed away and her dad married a new lady. So she has a stepsister and stuff who's, for the most part, pretty nice and whatnot, but she's all alone and she hangs out in this graveyard all the time. And then I forget what all happens, but there's like
Well,
this.
that's okay. Don't tell me. I'll watch it tonight. I swear. I mean,
I
I
was
may
about
not
to
watch it
say,
tonight, but but yeah,
but
did you like it?
very, very fun movie. It's pretty funny. It was written by Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno and Jennifer's Body and stuff, and it very much has her sense of humor in there still, but it also has that Catherine Newton girl in there. She's pretty funny. I like her a lot. It's one of the Sprouse twins. I can't. I think it's
Cole.
Dylan. Is it Cole?
It's
Yeah. So
Cole.
Cole Sprouse. He doesn't really say a whole lot, which is fun, but it's an entertaining movie. It was actually a first feature, I think, from Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams. And yeah, it's just a lot of it's very much still, like I said, a Frankenstein story, but I think it's pretty fun for the most part. It's nothing that special. I'm really curious to see how you're gonna feel about it, but I think I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. It's very Like I said, nothing that special, but I'd watch it again for sure. I might even give it a 4 out of 5, maybe, because I definitely laughed quite a bit. And there's suspenseful moments, but if anyone's like thinking it might be too scary for them, trust me, it's really not. I think it's PG-13, and most of the gore and stuff is pretty much off screen. There is one moment that is super fucking hilarious that happens in like a shadow, and that's all I'll say, but it's pretty good. I'd give it a chance if you got the time.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. It's one that I wanted to watch. I was kind of waiting until like none of the middle schoolers would be there. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'll go to the 9:20 tonight. They got school in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. How many movies do you feel like you've seen? 2024 movies? Because you got this, Dune
Yeah.
Web,
Probably only a
um,
few.
Mean Girls. Did you do Night Swim and Beekeeper?
Mm-mm.
No. You'd really like Beekeeper. You would really like Beekeeper. You'd have a really good time with that. It's fun. I had a really good time enjoying that. But okay, so I do want to recommend before we go into the big one, another one, Suncoast is actually on Hulu. It is speaking of like young female, like coming of age type movies. She's just, she's just a girl. Her brother's in hospice because he's gonna die any day. Her mother's a wreck over it. She gets advice from Woody Harrelson. It's just some guy, a mentor kind of character, and she's just trying to be a normal girl. Gets in with kids who do drugs and drink, and trying to be cool. And it was just real genuine, good, feel good movie. It's currently one of my top five. And then the other female one I wanted to recommend real quick is I feel you'll see Drive Away Dolls. Like I don't know if you'll see it in theaters, but you will definitely. That's a movie I feel like you would get to.
Yeah.
Is that one you're gonna see in theaters?
I'm hoping so. I've only been to the theater like 3 times this year so far, but yeah,
Mm.
it's one that I don't even think is playing at my theater yet, but once it does, hopefully I'll be able to see it.
You can wait for streaming, especially with like the onslaught of like blockbusters, Kung Fu Panda, Ghostbusters, and Kong, which I feel like will take a little bit more precedence,
Yeah.
on the big screen rather than Drive Away Dolls. But this was like 84 minutes. It's one of the Coen brothers, and it feels like it. Same sense of humor, same type of plot and whatnot. It's got a pretty good cast, that you would get with the cachet of a Coen brother being attached to it. But yeah, it was actually my second favorite movie of the year, pretty firmly. It's my only 4-star movie of the year, and it's really fun. It's funny. It's very sexual, but I recommend that one as well. A bunch of female-led movies that we have for you guys today. But clearly, the ones we talked about the least were the good ones.
Exactly. Yeah, don't watch those other ones. We gave you fair warnings.
But yeah, Lisa Frankenstein, Suncoast on Hulu, and Driveway Dolls are all very, very at bare minimum they're good. They're very solid, good movies. But yeah, I really enjoyed Driveway Dolls and Suncoast, and it seems like you really like Lisa Frankenstein.
I did. And another movie that I really liked, speaking of all this stuff that's been behind me this whole time, something Anakin Skywalker hates a lot.
Hmm.
We've been waiting for this movie for a long time. It was in contention for our last ass play of last year. Didn't unfortunately make it out that year, but Adam has it again this year, and it is Dune 2. Now, it was a long-awaited sequel to that first movie that I feel like a lot of people are kind of like not as big on as they once were in some ways, because like I don't know. It feels like kind of middle of the road for some people on that first one, but I personally really loved it. I watched it right before walking into the second one, and that was the right move. That is my biggest thing to tell everyone. If you're going to see Dune 2, watch Dune 1 as soon, like as close to before as you can, because it leads right in, and I thought it worked perfectly for myself of just getting back into that story. And honestly, right when Dune 2 ended, I would have sat there for Dune 3 right away because I loved this movie. What did you think?
Hmm. So obviously it's great. And like that's my only gripe with the movie is it's so boring how great it is, especially compared to everything else. Like I like doing my power rankings throughout the year, so it's so boring to be like, yep, my favorite movie of the year came out, and it'll be that way for months and months until I find some weird indie movie that's goofy that I like and I can put it a little higher. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. I actually got the opportunity to rewatch Dune in the IMAX. It's actually been like 2 weeks since the last time that I went to see Dune 2 because I saw it at a press screening in the Dolby at the AMC. But I will be going back to watch it again in IMAX. But it's fantastic. It's everything that everyone's saying. It's The Empire Strikes Back. It's, people are already like putting it in conversations with like the best science fiction sequels of all time. And it's like, oh, well, I that's just a bit hasty for me. I'm sure it is in terms of quality and like filmmaking, like ability, like yes. But like you're just hard pressed to get me to put that in the same conversation with movies I've loved my whole life and seen multiple times. When I've just, can we have like an opening weekend before we like declare this to be the greatest movie since The Godfather Part Two? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I'm not gonna be on that train right away. Did I have a great time watching this movie? Absolutely. Did those 2.5 to 3 hours just fly by for me? 100%. Like I can't tell you that I really got bored at all. The first movie, there are moments where you could definitely slows down a bit, especially in the beginning when it's building a lot of the characters up. But honestly, I don't have any of those complaints here in the second one. There's so much just like if you're in the story, you're in it. And there's so much going on right away. You jump into action stuff. And I mean, like you were saying about it being like visually, the effects here just so good. Even the first one, like Denis Villeneuve, that's one thing he's always really good at, but like the little helicopter things that look like bugs and stuff, like technology that obviously doesn't exist 'cause it's like a future, but it all looks like very real and it fits into like this all a lot of it is obviously a CGI world, but it just looks so good and it makes it that much more engrossing into this big epic story that we're in. And along with that, I mean, we have a huge cast. We lost some people from the first one, but we threw in some even bigger stars, in my opinion, with some ways being like Christopher Walken in there and Florence Pugh. A lot of newcomers in here that fit right into this huge ensemble cast. I mean, we have the big returners like Dave Bautista, Timothy Chalamet, all these people. And yeah, I mean, I can't get enough of this movie. I'm a huge Denis Villeneuve fan. Is it better than the first one? In a lot of ways, I think it is because it has a lot of the big action stuff. Austin Butler, my only complaint is that he wasn't talking like Elvis for the most part, but yeah, there's just a really good movie here. And this is the movie right now that if you're saving your money to go see something big and cool, use it on this one, especially in IMAX and whatnot, because it's pretty damn epic.
I would love to ask you a question. Who do you think is the MVP? Like obviously, we know who the main character is and whatnot, but like, which cast member do you think did the best job? I mean, try to do someone supporting. Obviously, it's really easy to say Tim Jim. But
Yeah,
like, who impressed you the most?
honestly, if I had to pick one person, I think I'd probably go with Rebecca Ferguson. I like her
People
character
love
a lot.
her.
She's just so good in this, and like her character, I would almost say like decline almost. Like she's definitely getting more and more devious, and like I feel like this third movie, it's gonna be some interesting stuff with the back and forth, maybe even between her and Timmy T. So I'm
Hmm.
interested, and I think I like her character a lot. Josh Brolin coming back, I thought was pretty damn good too. I mean, everyone
Hmm.
in here was really good. Even like Zendaya's moments of like toward the end with her being in her distressful moment with Timmy T acting the way he was and whatnot. There's lots of emotion going on too. So yeah, I want part three so bad, and I know it's gonna be like fucking 3 years from now or something crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Rebecca Ferguson's awesome, and she's captured the hearts of cinephiles everywhere. Zendaya is particularly nice in this movie because we got so little of her in the first one, so it's really great to see her role more fleshed out and she's able to do more. But my MVP, and this is the person I've seen the most talked about on social media, and it's mostly in a meme sense, but like I feel Javier Bardem is so important to this movie. Like the funniest joke of the year for me. And it's not even close. And it's not a joke. It's not like, hey, haha, punchline. Like it's the moment when they're like arguing the Fremen and about the Lisa and Gaib, whatever, the
Hmm.
Messiah. And like Timmy Jim's like, no, I'm not the Messiah. I'm just, one of you or whatever the hell. And then Stilgar like turns to like some of his people and he's like, he's too modest to say he's the Messiah.
Yeah,
Like as it's written. And it's like this religious fanatic. And like, have you seen all the memes of like someone like doing the thing where like they pretend to like it's the finger thing, like they do that, or is this your card? And they
I haven't
he's
seen
like
those yet.
Lisa
That
and Gaib, Lisa and Gaib,
that's great.
like simple
Yeah.
magic tricks.
I love that aspect of the story so much too, of like these religious fanatics just like not giving up their faith because that's all they have in some aspects. And yeah, his character, I almost forgot just how crazy he was. Like even continuing from the little bit we got from the first movie toward the end. And then yeah, him just picking that up right away and just being so over the top. Because I mean, we've seen him in so many different roles. Like even like comparing this to No Country for Old Men, where it's such a subdued character, and then this one being so over the top and like just so animated and crazy that yeah, it definitely just shows how great of an actor Javier really is.
Yeah, it's just like because it's such a. I've done a lot of Nolan recently too. Obviously, I just did Oppenheimer again in IMAX. I just did Tenet again in IMAX, and he Tenet's like Nolan's funny. Like he can be really funny when he wants to be, and like his movies are very long, very serious, very heavy movies. And so like these little moments of like these little flashes of like humor are like so necessary but with this movie too, like that moment, it's nice to just be like, huh, because it's a very serious like blockbuster. It's not like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Like it's Marvel type jokes. So it's nice to see like I don't want to say an elevated sense of humor, but like a less obvious type of humor. You know what I
Subdued.
mean? Yeah, like less obnoxious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's great and perfect. I said I liked the first one more than I liked the second one in my video. But my reasoning was like, well, I've watched the first one like 3 times. I've had 2 years to just, ruminate, marinate with it. So like, yeah, that one means more to me than this one now. But I'm sure that's going to change when I rewatch it and with more time. So that's kind of how I felt about it. And then a lot of people were like trying to convince me in my comments that the first movie's bad. And I'm like, we're talking about the movie that was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, right?
That's what I've been seeing recently. That's kind of what I was talking about at the beginning, where it seems like the tides have like turned on the first movie for some reason. People are like, "Oh, it's so boring and nothing happens." And it's like, if you know a bit of the story and whatnot, like I was starting to read the book and I think that's pretty interesting too, but a lot of it was them just trying to build out this vast world that this movie all encompasses. Like there's so much going on that they have to tell in less than 3 hours because it's not a TV show, which I think it would like, honestly work as a television series too, like a short one, like a 8 part or something like that. But it works as like this huge epic series too, just because they're building out stuff so much that you need that first movie to show, oh, we have all of these different characters from all these different parts of this world, and it's all a battle for basically control over the spice and whatnot too. So it's all very interesting. So if you can get through that first movie, I get that parts of it might be a little slow, but there are some great parts. And I mean, you get performances from like Oscar Isaac and rest in peace, Duncan Idaho. He was the best, and just so much cool stuff. So yeah, this is a great series, and like I said, I cannot wait for the third one.
Yeah, when this one ended, I said fuck because I was like, I'm so interested in the Holy War. Like, I don't care about the battle, like the war part. Like, yeah, it's cool with all the worms or like fighting everyone, and that's great. But like, I'm much more interested in like the interpersonal relationships between everyone and all the tea and the drama of what's going on.
Well, yeah,
So
and where
I'm much more excited for that going
there's
forward.
there's so much different character stuff going on, and just the overall arc of like what is gonna happen to all if all of these families and all these different like warriors finally collide. Like, who's gonna actually come out on top? Because like House Atreides doesn't really exist anymore, but he's also like kind of part of like three different houses if you count his bloodline and shit. So like, there's so much drama going on in here amongst all of the cool action and sci-fi stuff. So yeah, I'm so excited for where this goes. And not reading the books, I
Yeah, it
had
got
no
me to
idea.
re Yeah, it got me to rewatch Empire Strikes Back because I noticed like just from the opening when they're like trying to take down one of the Harkonnen spice mining things, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's just like when the rebels were trying to take down the AT-AT walkers in Hoth. Like this is the same thing, and it's obviously I'm not holding that against Dune. I know that Dune inspired Star Wars, but it's just interesting. And then like the Luke, I am your father twist that happens in Dune, that works for me so much better in Star Wars because when it happened in Dune, I was like, so like how does that matter? That doesn't matter anymore.
Well,
But
especially because I wish they would have elaborated on it more. If they kind of just said it, and then like I wanted the mom to be like, so like kind of reveal more about
so this is
the consequences
why.
of it or anything, or like how she grew up without. I don't know. It's there's just so much in there that like I wanted to know more about. That obviously, this 3 hour long movie didn't need to be any longer than 3 hours, but I just wanted more. Okay.
No, I think you're right. I think it will get better on second viewing, and I think you were right about what you said about it being a TV show. I like because I did feel like in this one it was a very quick change. I know it's 3 hours, but it felt like a quick change from like I don't know about this guy to he's the fucking Messiah and I'll die for him.
Yeah,
So I like having that be fleshed out a little bit more over the course of a series would be. I mean, I still think it was done really well here, but it was like, oh, it feels like so much has happened in such a little time.
exactly. I feel like there's so much that they could even go and elaborate even more on that. Obviously, we just can't do, or else these movies just would never end.
Yeah, and I think it's really great. I think it's really great. I'm really happy it's succeeding. We are currently sitting at a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. We are at 81 million opening weekend, so you pretty much wrap it up in the bag for me for this one home
Oh
run
yeah.
hit, which I'm so happy I got. I was so happy when you didn't take it first because I was like, it was mine last year. It's only fair, but you won, so you had to pick first. But what you took Deadpool, correct?
Deadpool 3, yeah, the one that I just got a really good feeling about still, especially with all the marketing they're doing right now. Marketing the shit out of
Oh yeah, and the
Wolverine.
trailer came out. Yeah, so that's a lot of fun, and I'm sure that'll be good too. But yeah, what a first entry on the board. And actually, I think I have a couple, because I got Kong, not Kong, Kung Fu Panda next, and then one of us has Godzilla and Kong. I don't know which one of us has that
I
one.
don't remember either. I'm trying to remember any of mine at the moment, honestly.
It's
Can't
funny, my
remember.
staff, they like I was telling them about this game, so we're playing it now. And it's like four of us, and it's a very different dynamic because it's like, instead of just one person, there's like fucking four people, so you only have like five movies, and the
Yeah.
drop off from like one to two to three is like insane. But yeah, so this year, the next movie that comes out for you will be it's not Twisters, is it? Oh my gosh. No, it's Deadpool 3 or Inside Out 2. Is Deadpool in May? No, it's in July, right?
I think so. Honestly, I cannot remember. Give me.
Yeah. So I think you're waiting until June for Inside Out, and then I got Fall Guys in May. Actually, I think Ballerina got pushed back a year, so I think I lose that one.
Oh,
So we're evening up a bit. But Kung Fu Panda 4 is mine, correct, and that is next week. Which actually I'm seeing that movie tomorrow, Kung Fu Panda 4. So I'm really
hell
excited
yeah.
about that.
I think I'm gonna
But
take my
yeah,
niece.
Dune, best movie of the year. I mean, your favorite movie of the year, I imagine, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's not a huge running for at the moment, but it's absolutely at the top of the list at the moment. I do have a power rankings going a little bit. I've only seen 7 movies, but none of them are really that great other than Dune. So, but yeah, Dune's a 5 out of 5 for me easily. Go see it in IMAX, the biggest screen possible, best sound possible, because you'll enjoy it. It's an experience for sure. See it on the big screen. Don't wait
It's
for it to get
epic.
home.
And it's super interesting seeing casual fans like discover the political themes of the movie And like it's almost like Tenet, you know what I mean? Like I'm seeing people at different parts of the journey with the same thing. And it's like they're like, oh, it's a cultural appropriation of people in the Middle East. It's about a white savior. And it's like, oh, you're getting there.
Yeah.
You're almost there. Like it's
There's
not like supporting the white savior, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's also talking about like religious fanatics and how religion can be a controlling, but also a kind of guiding light for some people that don't have anything else. Like that's all they have is just this religious belief that there's a Messiah that's going to take them to their honestly to their freedom or whatever. So there's so much going on with this story, and it's told in just such an interesting way that honestly, like I got my dad watching the first one with me before I went and saw the second one. He didn't go with me the second one, but he kind of wanted to afterward. But there was no more seats left in IMAX because it was sold out. But it just shows that everyone can kind of be engrossed in the story no matter what. It's just that good.
Austin Butler, I love him. He's fantastic. Someone said that he was like, oh, that's the next Darth Vader. And it's like, well, I don't think he had enough time or
Oh,
face to face time or anything, but he was great. I hate to say it, not to keep mentioning Jared Leto, but he reminded me of Jared Leto's Joker, the pale, how much he's a psycho and killing people are on his side left and right. Just saying.
yeah, I really wanted him more back and forth between him and Dave Bautista a little bit, but the way that kind of ended sucked for me, but I was happy
Yeah,
that it
but I'm super happy with what we got. We are truly, truly blessed to get such a fantastic blockbuster like this. And there's nothing coming out the rest of the year that seems to have as much promise, like on paper. I mean, hindsight will be 2020. I'm sure this won't be my favorite movie of the year at the end of the year. I'm sure I'll find something else that I'm like, oh, this was goofy and I enjoyed it. So but yeah, it's certainly going to be on my top 10 list. Certainly going to be a part of a lot of like important conversations of all-time movie rankings, and we're really lucky. We're really lucky right now.
absolutely. If it gets anything at the end of the or the beginning of next year at the Oscars, visual effects, this has a lock for sure. I can't imagine any other movie coming out this year that's really going to top that because just like I was saying, these things that don't exist looked real in this realistic world. Like very, very just visually stunning. So I'm hoping at least it runs away with those because it's well earned.
Yeah, and before like any other big movies come out, like it seems like to be a front runner. Like I'm sure it's going to get a Best Picture nomination, and with how much better people think this one is than the first one, this might be its Return of the King moment.
Yeah, get some adaptation Oscars and stuff too.
Yeah, so I would love to see this get its moment in the sun. Because what an epic back-to-back Best Picture winners. Because we're gonna go from Oppenheimer to Dune 2.
Yeah, that'd be very, very, very cool.
Well, yeah, 5 out of 5. That's all I pretty much got to say about it.
All right, you want to do a few more rapid fires to end us out? I got a couple.
Uh, yeah, you go first.
All right, one that I actually just saw recently for the very first time, a movie that's kind of held as like one of the best like rom-coms from a lot of people, and that is 10 Things I Hate About You with Heath Ledger. Had never
Hmm.
seen it, saw that it was on Disney Plus one morning because I opened the app, went over to movies, and I was like, what's one I haven't seen yet? And obviously Numbers top of the list. So I love Heath Ledger, and it was a really fun movie. I get why people love it so much. It was very cute. Some stuff is dated, but I love Heath Ledger. Gone far too soon. He's just a really talented guy, and Julia Stiles is fun here for the most part. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, young, pretty cool. Yeah, it's just a fun little like teen rom-com, but and another one that I watched on Disney Plus not long after that is one from what, 1976? Gus. It is the goofiest movie I've seen in a long time. It's literally the story is I want to say it's like Italian or something. It's like this guy with a horse over in Italy has this horse that can just kick balls like really super far, and they find out about it at this I can't remember. I think it's an NFL team actually. And they're like, "Well, we're so bad. We need something to score points because we're so bad." And they find out about this horse in Italy and they ship him over and he literally becomes a part of the team. Like him and the guy and his owner. He becomes like the placeholder and the fucking horse kicks field goals. So you gotta watch it and I want to hear what you think on the next podcast for sure.
I don't know why I thought it was baseball. Yeah, it is football.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
literally
football.
like in the
He's wearing a
NFL.
helmet.
I think they play in the Super Bowl and shit at the end. Yeah. Yep. It is goofy
But
as
yeah, it's
all
got a
hell.
solid cast. You're not my only mutual who has seen it.
That is great. I
I have
don't know
one
if I
other.
have any others.
But yeah, I'll check that. Dick Butkus is in it.
Hmm.
Um, and just to mention, you said you the 10 Things I Hate About You. I really love that. I like that movie a lot. But I love the scene that I love you, baby. And
Yeah.
like that's like iconic movie magic. Another one that you watched that I wanted to mention is the Flintstones. I fucking love that movie. It's a perfect Flintstones movie. I'm head over heels for it. You gave it a 3.5 and a heart, so
Oh yeah.
you liked it.
I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. I honestly think I unfortunately watched Viva Las Vegas or whatever the one that came out afterward more, but John Goodman is a perfect Fred Flintstone. I just loved that so much. And the story in here is a lot of fun too. I mean, the sets, all the puppets and stuff. And I think I read that like even though Spielberg produced it, he's like, this will not be made without John Goodman as my Fred Flintstone. And he was right there because yeah, he just fit the role so perfectly. And his movie's just tons of fun. I saw it on Netflix last night and I just had to pop it on.
Yeah, I think I did it about a year or two ago when I was sick, and it just caught me in the perfect place. And I was like, I love this movie. You know.
Yeah.
Another one that you watched that I wanted to touch on is, and you were kind of low on May December. What's the problem?
I just could not get into that movie. I love Natalie Portman. I think she's a great actress, but there was just something about this movie that felt very like soap opera-y and like especially the one like musical tone that's in the movie that they do over and over again. I was getting to the point where I was like, this feels like a TV movie more than like, and it was on Netflix, so I mean, I guess it works there, but I don't know. It just didn't, it felt like there was these huge actors in this movie that it just all felt off to me. Like maybe on a rewatch I would like it more because yeah, I'm lower than the average viewer for sure, but I don't know. It just didn't grab me. The story was interesting, but it also wasn't a story that I was like super unfamiliar with too, because I feel like it's been done before on TV and shit too.
I think that the TV movie vibe that you're catching, I think it is somewhat intentional.
Yeah.
I think because of the subject matter, like soap opera is the word you used. Yeah, we're out of hot dogs. I don't think we're gonna have enough hot dogs. Like that's hilarious.
That's
But
what
yeah,
I
no, it's a very haunting movie. It's a very like evil, sinister thing.
like. It almost is like, is this supposed to be like being a parody, or is it supposed to be like this weird dramatic thriller in a way? Like, I like that if that was the intention, then all good on you. That's cool, but I just couldn't read it that well, I guess.
Well, it's also like a shit post, I think. A lot of the movie is like making fun of actors like who think they're like so important and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna study their ways and I'm gonna make ingrain myself in their situation and like just how like it's like hubris, like how naive they are to believe that they could like just be there for like a month and fully comprehend the situation. And the way that she meddles with this situation is so evil. And I really love Charles Melton's performance, Julianne Moore. There's a clip that was like one of the inspirations for this movie. And there's a scene that's like verbatim just like it. It's when he's, the husband is with the older woman and she's like, who, yeah, but who is in charge? Who is in charge? And it's like, it's this very uncomfortable interview. I heavily recommend it because it makes the movie that much more haunting. But I really, really liked it. I wanted to rewatch it and give it a 5, but I'm at a 4 with that one. But I did think it was interesting that you gave it like a 3. I was like, I know what kind of a 3 that is. That means like I didn't like it, but I respect it.
Exactly.
You know what I
That is
mean?
the perfect summation of how I feel. I don't know if I understood it, but I didn't hate it. There are parts of it that are really good.
Mhm. And then you watch Nyad, the lesbian swimming movie. I really like that. They sent me a lot of stuff. I have like a bottle. I have a banner. I have the disc, the score, and everything. I thought it was really inspiring, man.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. It's a really good movie. It was just kind of an average kind of movie for me. That's why I didn't go too high on it. But yeah, I didn't
Mm.
dislike it by any means. Jodie Foster's cool. I like the other lady. She was really good too. I can't remember her name at the
Oh,
moment,
Annette
but
Bening,
yeah, I get the
the one of
award
the
stuff.
stars of the Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I get why they're nominated and stuff. Like it was a really good emotional performance and stuff. I mean, even just the real life story, I think is still just incredible. So the story itself was obviously going to be great, but it's just it was a fun movie. It's not any like I said, it's not anything I'll probably rewatch ever that I can really
Mhm.
think of, but it's not a bad movie by any means.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, well, I really liked. I also gave it like a 4. But okay. I do have to wrap things up here real quickly. I'm actually getting a call from my boss right now, but
All
I can
right.
answer in like 5 minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and loving movies with us. You can check out my channel, Hard Reviews. Hello, Adam Ryan. This Hard Reviews. Actually, my Dune 2 review is my most famous review by far. It's got like 4,000 views, which my next highest is like 1,500. So like, it's a lot for me. But so definitely go out and watch Dune, watch some of our videos. Steve?
So I had the film fan reviews, have not uploaded on there since Saw X, but I think I might be doing some short stuff soon just to get myself back into stuff and then oh, who knows? Maybe I'll do some other video stuff or maybe I'll do something else. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with that channel just yet because I'm very busy at work at the moment. But yeah, I'm still watching movies whenever I can.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys for loving movies. And just remember, fear is the mind killer.
Yes, and don't go in the sand.